Man, out of the three films I saw this past week, like I saw Don't Worry Darling, I saw Pinocchio, I saw Clerks 3. Two of them I was not very excited for. I knew Pinocchio would be bad. It was worse than bad. It was an abomination. Don't Worry Darling didn't look very good, and it wasn't good. It was a very terrible film. This one I was very excited for because I am a Kevin Smith fan. I may have not liked his work recently. I was not a huge fan of his He-Man movies. And I thought Jay and Silent Bob reboot was mediocre. His other Canadian films like Yoga Hosers and Tusk, they're terrible films. I think he kind of lost his mojo a long time ago, but I love his older stuff. Like, I love the first Clerks movie is incredible. Chasing Amy, Mallrats, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Even Clerks 2. I think Clerks 2 is super underrated. I think Clerks 2 was his last, like, really good film. But Clerks 3, I was like, from the trailers, I was excited for this. I'm like, it looks good. I love that it's like kind of autobiographical because it's almost like about Kevin Smith. Because in the movie, Randall is like he has a heart attack because he's getting older and stuff, and so what now he wants to do something with his life, and so he makes a movie about the Clerks, almost like what Kevin Smith did when he started filmmaking. Randall in the movie is almost like Kevin Smith. He wants to make a movie about the Clerks, about them at the Quick Stop making a movie. And I'm like, honestly, that sounds like a great idea. That's a great idea for a movie. It's a movie within a movie. That's really fun. Sadly, though, sadly, the movie isn't that great. Sadly, there's a lot of things wrong with this movie. It's not funny. It's really not funny. There's some pretty bad performances in this movie. Really bad. There's some, like, really forced cameos that come off a little cringy and awkward, and I don't know, just, I thought this movie was going to be so much better than it was. Like, I was so excited for this movie, because I am always rooting for Kevin Smith. Even though I don't like his recent work, I always want to root for him, but this movie just didn't do it for me. I was very disappointed. I don't think it's a complete crap fest of a film. It's not. There's some good stuff in it. There's some good stuff. But I feel like this movie was made, let's say, like, maybe 10 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago. I think this movie would have been a lot better. We live in this modern age where Kevin Smith's comedy isn't very socially accepted. It's a little too raunchy. It's a little too offensive. Like, the stuff he says in, like, Clerks 2, I'll say this, like, super unpopular opinion. I think Clerks 2 is one of his funniest movies. Clerks 1's way better, though. Clerks 1's a way better movie. It's got such great character moments, great writing. Just as a directorial debut, it's one of the best directorial debuts from a filmmaker. That and, like, Spielberg's Duel, but the first Clerks is every way, shape, or form a better movie than Clerks 2. Clerks 2 has a lot of story issues. There's a lot of side things in the movie that are just stupid. But as just like laughs, just funny, Clerks 2 is hilarious. Because he just goes off the rails in Clerks 2. He goes flat out offensive. He makes some crazy jokes that you would never be able to get away with nowadays. And I was hoping he'd bring that in Clerks 3, and he doesn't. All the jokes, yes, there's a lot of swearing and stuff, and there's like poop and fart jokes, but they're all safe. Like, just because you put the F word in your movie doesn't make the movie, like, offensive or anything, but, like, Clerks 2 went very offensive, and it was funny. This one doesn't at all go offensive. It goes very safe, very tamed, very Gen Z, like, even especially with some of the language of these characters. I'm like, oh, God. There's some pretty cringy dialogue in this movie, and I'm like, oh. It's disappointing because I didn't think Kevin Smith would do that, but he did. I don't know. It's almost like a sellout kind of thing. I'm like, oh, Kevin, man, what are you doing, man? Don't do that. Like, put the good stuff that made you famous, that comedy that made you famous. Like, the comedy in, like, movies like Dogma and Jay and Silent Bob and Clerks 2 were just so funny, and I wanted to see that kind of comedy in this film, and it's not there. Like I said, there's, like, there's comedy in it, and there's like a lot of swearing, but not the raunchiness and the inappropriateness of the classic Kevin Smith films. It's not there. The movie only maybe laugh a couple times. And the fact this movie's a comedy, it just doesn't really work as a comedy. And it was a little sad. I wanted to laugh so much more. There was just so many scenes. I'm just like, I wasn't laughing. Like, this movie isn't very funny, and it's a comedy, but I'm not really laughing. And it was sad to see, because I was really rooting for this film. And so yeah, that's the biggest negative for this film, is that it's a comedy, but it's not funny. It's not very funny. And I think the cameos are a little awkward and weird. Also, the acting. I think Brian O'Hareland, is that his name? I think he is not very good in the movie. He was never really a great actor in the films, but he did what he could do, and he was just kind of like, he was always good at playing the Dante role. Like, he's just annoyed all the time. That was like his character in both the Clerks films, that he was just annoyed all the time. And it was funny. But in this one, he has to play something different, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't feel like Dante for some reason. Even Randall doesn't fully feel like Randall. And it was a little disappointing. Even with Elias, I don't like what they did with Elias. Like, Elias was such a funny character in Clerks 2, and he is not at all funny in this movie. Like, at all. It was also very disappointing. However, I will say the biggest strength of the film is Jeff Anderson as Randall. I think he is the best in this movie. The movie's a lot about him, and he actually does have some very good moments performance-wise. I think he is the best actor in this film. He has some pretty emotional moments, and he probably has all the funniest moments in this movie. All the best jokes are from him, and all the best emotional moments and best dramatic moments and like heartbreaking moments are all from him. The movie is almost like carried by Jeff Anderson as Randall. He is the best part of this movie. He is very good. He is funny, and he has got some great dramatic roles. Like, a lot of scenes, like there's a scene with him in the hospital. The whole scene isn't funny, but he's funny in it. There's a scene where a couple customers come in and they're saying these weird stuff, and his reactions are very funny and stuff. And even how he's making the movie, it's pretty funny. And Denzel Bob are in it. They have a couple laughs here and there, but nothing amazing. They're okay. And I understand why Kevin Smith made this movie, and I can respect it. I can appreciate it, that this movie is about him in a way. Like, Randall is Kevin Smith, because Kevin Smith just had a heart attack, and this is also about how he came into filmmaking. I know this movie means a lot to Kevin Smith, and I appreciate that. I respect the art form of what he's trying to do with this film, and there is passion in this project. And I can respect it. That's what it is. I may not have liked it very much, but I respect the movie. I respect Kevin Smith, and I respect this movie. I could see where he was going for this film. And there's lots of great moments. There's actually a very emotional moment in this movie that's actually very touching. And I'm like, wow, that was really well done. It's just, the movie is a comedy. It's not funny. The movie could have worked if he put like Clerks 2 style jokes in this film. The movie could have been great. And like, they changed a couple of the cameos out, and focused more on the filmmaking, and just put funnier stuff. If the movie was funnier, I think the movie would have been a lot better. But the movie isn't funny. It's not a funny movie, and there's a lot of moments that come off a little cringy and kind of dumb and stuff. So, and the acting was pretty weak. But I think Jeff Anderson really steals the film, and he's really the best part of this film. And there are some like nice moments here and there. There's some emotions, and the fact that Kevin Smith put his soul into this film, and it's a passion project, I can respect that. Again, it's hard to recommend this movie, because some people might watch this movie and love it, and some people might not love it. Like, this movie is the kind of movie I can see why people would really like it, would get really into it. I wasn't into it. I prefer the classic stuff for Kevin Smith, but I could see why people would enjoy it. I didn't like it. I wouldn't never watch it again. But I'm still glad I did watch it because it's Kevin Smith. I'll watch everything he does. But it was disappointing for me, and I don't know. I don't think Kevin Smith will ever be the same Kevin Smith, and I think this kind of just solidified it. I was always thinking that, back in the Yoga Hoser and Red State kind of movies, but even when he started returning to the Jay and Silent Bob movies, they just weren't the same. So I just feel like Kevin Smith's kind of done. So yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give Clerks 3 a 5 out of 10. A 5 out of 10. I think that's generous. Jeff Anderson's good. There's some good moments here and there, but huge disappointment. Not a very funny movie. So yeah, let me know in the comment section below if you're a Kevin Smith fan. Are you gonna go check this movie out? And if you have seen it, did you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? Let me know. Comment below. Let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel and join the dark side.